If you've been lied to about money, they told you work hard, show up early, stay late, and you'll get ahead. You did it, you're still broke, and the guy who works half the hours you do just bought his second rental property. That's not bad luck. That's not unfair. That's the system working exactly as designed. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why your effort has been feeding someone else's wealth, not yours. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Hard work doesn't create wealth. It never has. What creates wealth is ownership. You can work 70 hours a week at a job, but unless you own the output, the systems, or the assets your labor touches, you're renting your life to someone who does, and they're getting rich off the difference between what you produce and what they pay you. That gap, that's called profit, and it's not going into your account. You've been trading the most valuable thing you have, time, for the least leveraged return possible. A salary. And the moment you understand why that exchange is designed to keep you exactly where you are, everything about your financial situation starts making sense. The real question isn't why you're working so hard, it's why that hard work was never designed to set you free. Here's the part nobody explains in school. Your salary is not a reflection of how hard you work. It's a reflection of how hard you are to replace. A construction worker breaks his back in the heat for 10 hours. An investment banker sends emails from his couch. The investment banker makes 20 times more. Why? Scarcity. The system doesn't pay for effort, it pays for leverage and replaceability. If 10,000 people can do your job tomorrow, your wage gets compressed. If only a handful can, your price explodes. A line cook works harder than a corporate consultant. The consultant charges $300 an hour. Effort has nothing to do with it. The question you should be asking is whether you're building skills that make you scarce or skills that keep you replaceable. You've been optimizing the wrong variable your entire life. You're trying to work harder when you should be working on things that scale. Let me show you the difference. If you trade time for money, your income has a ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. Even if you work all of them, you hit a hard limit. But if you write code that runs 1,000,000 times, or own a property that generates rent every month, or build a product that sells while you sleep, your income has no ceiling. That's not theory, that's math. A consultant can bill 80 hours a week and cap out at maybe $300,000 a year. A software founder writes code once and it scales to 10 million users. Same year, different structure. One stops when you stop, the other compounds when you rest, and the people getting rich understood this gap before you did. This is where it gets darker. The entire education system is designed to produce employees, not owners. You're taught to follow instructions, meet deadlines, and seek approval from authority. That's perfect training for an employee. It's terrible training for wealth. Think about what school actually rewards: obedience, memorization, sitting still, raising your hand. Those are the traits of a compliant employee, not an independent builder. The people who got rich early realized they weren't supposed to climb the corporate ladder. They were supposed to own the ladder and rent access to everyone else trying to climb it. You were never taught to ask who owns the system you're working within. You were taught to be grateful for a position inside it. Remember what I promised at the start? Your effort is feeding someone else's wealth. Let me show you the exact mechanism. The average employee generates between 3 and 5 times their salary in value for the company. A software engineer making $100,000 builds features that generate $500,000 in revenue. A salesperson earning $60,000 closes deals worth $300,000. Where does that extra value go? Up. Shareholders, executives, owners. The system extracts your productivity and returns just enough to keep you coming back. That's not exploitation in the emotional sense. It's the business model. You produce 5 units of value, you get paid 1. The other 4 fund someone else's retirement, someone else's real estate portfolio, someone else's generational wealth. Now think about where your paycheck actually goes. Your rent or mortgage, your car payment, your phone bill, your subscription, your credit card minimums. Every single one of those is someone else's revenue stream. You're not consuming. You're a revenue source, a subscription model in human form. And the moment you stop working, the payments don't. Now here's the perkest part of the trap. The harder you work in a time for money job, the less capacity you have to build anything that could free you. You're tired, you're busy, you don't have energy left at the end of the day to learn new skills, to start a side project, to research investments, to build the systems. The grind keeps you grinding. It's a perfect cycle. Your effort maintains your position. It doesn't elevate it. You're too exhausted to escape because escaping requires energy you don't have. Meanwhile, someone with passive income has time to compound their advantage. They learn, they build, they invest, not because they're smarter, because they're not trapped in the exhaustion loop. So what's the actual structural difference between you and someone building wealth? Leverage. They use other people's time, other people's money, other people's systems. You use your own. They own the infrastructure, you rent access to it. A business owner hires 10 people and captures a percentage of all their output. A real estate investor uses the bank's money to buy a property and uses the tenant's rent to pay it off. A content creator builds an audience once and monetizes it 1,000 times. You clock in, work 8 hours, and get paid for 8 hours. They set up a system that works while they sleep. That's not a motivational difference, that's a mechanical one. And the data proves it. 80% of millionaires are first-generation wealthy. They didn't inherit it. But here's the key. 90% of them own businesses, real estate, or income-generating assets. They're not employees. They're equity holders. They don't have jobs. They have ownership stakes. The wealth didn't come from working harder. It came from owning the thing that scales. A doctor can work 60 hours a week and make $400,000 a year. Sounds great until you realize she stops earning the second she stops working. A guy who owns 3 laundromats makes $200,000 a year and works 15 hours a week. Less income, more freedom. Different structure. And over a lifetime, the equity in those laundromats compounds. The doctor's salary doesn't. This is what I promised you'd see. The equation you've been running is effort equals reward, but the real equation is ownership times leverage equals wealth. Effort is just the input, and inputs without leverage don't scale. You can work twice as hard and earn twice as much for a year, but you can't work 100 times harder. You can, however, own something that scales 100 times. That's the difference. The people winning aren't grinding harder. They're plugged into systems that multiply their input. You're plugged into a system that caps it. So here's what you now understand that most people never will. Your hard work isn't the problem. The direction of that work is. You've been aiming at a target that was never designed to create wealth. You've been told to be valuable to a company when you should have been building value you own. The system isn't broken. It's working perfectly, just not for you. Here's the reframe. Wealth isn't about working harder. It's about owning more. More equity, more systems, more leverage. The moment you stop trading time for money and start building or buying things that generate money without your time, the entire game changes. That's not inspiration, that's mechanics. It's the difference between renting your labor and owning the output. And here's the number that makes it undeniable. The average American worker will earn roughly $2.7 million over a 40-year career. Sounds like a lot until you realize that's 40 years of trading the only non-renewable resource you have, your time, for just enough to stay inside the system. Meanwhile, a single rental property cash flowing $1,000 a month generates $480,000 over those same 40 years, passively. One asset, one purchase, no additional time required after the setup. And if you own 3 of them, you just matched 20% of a lifetime of labor without trading a single hour. That's not luck. That's structure. If this shifted how you see your own situation, hit the like button. And if you're rethinking what you're actually building with your time, drop a comment. I want to know what clicked.